Hi, this is Rabbi Chaim Kaufman. Welcome to our 269th installment in the Torah portion of the week. We are holding by Parshas Re'eh. Parshas Re'eh talks about the blessing and the curse, talks about the sanctity of the land, talks about private altars, talks about sacred foods, permission to eat unconsecrated meat, false prophets, prohibition against copying the rights of the Canaanites. A lot of very interesting things. Very end of the parsha, the Torah tells me in chapter 16, verse 13, says you should make the festival of Sukkot 7-day periods when you gather in from your threshing floor and your wine cellar. Right, they talk about Sukkot, right? Talking about sacrifices and different things by Sukkot, by all the three festive holidays that the Jews went up to the Jerusalem, went up to the temple and sacrificed on Passover, Sukkot, and Shavuos. And Rashi over here says, or it's mentioned, let's say better, it says Moiv Rebbe, Arav Vagon or Moshe Sturmach Shlita, should be well. And he brings down his commentary on Chumash and Tam V'das. And he says like this, why does it say this holiday of Sukkot is for you? Tased lecho will be for you. Why for you? Why does it use that language? All right, so maybe it says, because when you make a sukkah, what is a sukkah? Sukkah is a temporary dwelling. And you're going to live in a temporary dwelling for 7 days. In order to show that this world is fleeting, remember, Sukkot has to be in the fall. The reason it's in the fall is because when a person goes into the sukkah, what's he showing? He's showing that the sukkah, why are we going into it? It's cold, most places. Right? Most places, definitely cold. So you go, why are you going into the sukkah? To show you're doing it for the mitzvah. You're certainly not doing it because that's what you want to do. Per se, you're doing it because there's a command. There's a divine command. You tell me in certain places that it's warm, right? Certainly in Israel, during Sukkot, the weather's usually nice, it's warm. Some other places might be warm. Most places it's cold, right? So you're showing you're going into the sukkah for the sake of the mitzvah. And not only that, but he's telling you this world's fleeting. So a person gets, enjoys, and he gets enjoyment from this world. It's temporary. A person can eat a ton of food, feel like they're overstuffed and all that. What happens? Where's that food going to go? We know where it's going to go. We won't get gross in, right? We know where it's going to grow, where it's going to come out. So it's only temporary. You're only getting temporary enjoyment over here. But my Rebbe says, but a dearest keva, a dwelling place that's fixed, meaning like a regular house over here. So that we know. That we understand. Okay, that's something fixed. A sukkah, not something fixed. The strong wind could blow it over. It's got a flimsy roof. Or roof, depending where you're from. And it could blow it off. So, the fixed house, so to speak, that my Rebbe says, is talking about the next one. In other words, temporary world. What's the temporary world of Sukkah? Sukkah represents this world. A house, something that's fixed, something that's constant, so to speak. What is that? That corresponds to Olam Haba. Corresponds to the next one. So then my Rebbe says, why is it for your sake, for you, make it for you. In order to learn all the days of your life in this world, you should really think you're dwelling in a temporary residence. You got real walls, real windows, all this, right? A real roof. So we don't feel it's temporary. We feel it's, forever, so to speak. But if a person looks at this world, that this world is only temporary, he says, then you merit to get the true benefits the true spiritual benefit from God himself. When is that going to be? Next world. Talking about Olam Haba. So, interesting thing. He's telling you we're living in a fleeting world. Right? King Solomon says in Proverbs, we don't know what today's going to bring. We don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. We don't know. We have no idea. What's the reality? The reality is, does anyone think about it? How many people think, today's going to be the last day? Right? If a person is much older, they already know they're dying, whatever, okay. But if not, they tremendous amount of life left in them. They're young, so to speak. They're vibrant. Are they thinking about the next world? No. Are they thinking about they're going to die? No. They're thinking, okay, they have to live in this world. They have to survive. True. But they're not living thinking about what's really important. Because what's really important is about the next world. This world's passing, fleeting. Now, wouldn't everyone agree? Take a survey. What's going to happen at the end of your life? What's the person going to say? You're going to die. Everybody knows they're going to die. I'm not saying anything new. Even though death is not a Jewish concept, because the reality is, if Adam and Eve didn't eat from the tree, they wouldn't have been dead. But okay, God went to plan B. That a person has to die. Their body has to rot. They have to go through a spiritual cleansing. Hopefully not too bad, in order to have a portion of the world to come. What are we living for? This world is fleeting, right? The Q&A I did recently, someone asked me, how do you respond to a family member, whoever says, why don't you relax about God in this world? Like, is there more to life than that? So we would say, no. What's more important than that? What's more important than God? What's more important than serving him? Doing mitzvahs, cleansing our minds, working hard to be better people, to go according to our good character traits and not according to our evil inclination. It's not easy. The Ramchal says in Path of the Just, we're here to struggle. That's what we're here for. So I have to work hard. Right? But someone's living in this world, so to speak, and the only thing they have is the benefit, the desires of this world. So one of the things, more important than God? What are they going to say? What are they going to say? Look at, my sports team. That's important. Even if they don't do so well. They'll say family. Family's important. What about entertainment? Politics. They'll say, okay, really? They're not really that important. But people make them part of their lives. Good part of their lives. People like to go to sporting events. A lot of people. No matter what time of the year. In the summer, you got baseball, soccer for some people, or football, whatever you want to call it. Right? In the spring and the winter, you got football, you got basketball, you have hockey. And then in the spring, you have baseball. The cycle starts again, right? Talking about American sports here, right? The cycle starts again. So if you're really into sports, okay, seasons change, sports change. People are really into that. Is that really what's important? Now, even most people would say, in the bigger scheme of things, now, what's really important, I forgot to mention, right? What's really, really important? Health. Because if a person doesn't have health, they have nothing. Right? I can't even tell you how many times I've heard that. It's true. So you got to be healthy. You got to be thankful for what you have. Just heard a story today. Somebody much older, early 90s, and whatever, they can barely get out of bed. Got cancer in different places. They're walking wounded. How long are they going to be in this world? Much, probably not much longer. Okay. But the reality is, we got to be thankful. We don't want to, be thankful for life, when it's over. We want to be thankful now. We want to tell God we're happy. He's given us health. Right? He takes care of our needs, even if it's hard. Even if we suffer in different ways, there are plenty of things to be thankful for, right? But we're living in a temporary world. This is a temporary world. Everybody knows it. But you know what? Life's too hard. People don't want to think so much. People don't, they don't want to dwell on that. Like people, the older they get, they see all my friends are dying. There's nobody else around. Depressing? Really depressing. But is that going to get someone to think about what their life's all about? Like, no, I'm on my way to go play cards. No, I'm on my way to do this. Something fleeting that has no meaning, just fills time. People like that, even at the end of their life, they're not going to get it. The only question is, I want to live my life every day. I want to be healthy and all this, and eventually it's all going to stop. And a person gets sick and other things, and it's going to stop. Why not? They can say they're thankful, okay, but they don't put God in the picture. You got to put God in the picture, because He's the one who gives us everything. Because if not, guess what? We'd be dead. Gives us air, plenty of water, right? All kinds of things to be thankful for. But my Rebbe here is pointing out there are two things. My house, what does my house represent? Even if you're renting, doesn't matter. What does your house represent? Represents something that's fixed forever. It's fixed. So therefore, what represents the next one? Because that's the real world, right? The spiritual. A sukkah is something that's temporary. What does the sukkah represent? This world. So Rebbe here says, we have to remember, even if we're living in a house, right? It's temporary. We're living in a temporary world. Anything can happen anytime. And nobody knows. So we have to remember what our purpose is. We have to remember what we're doing here. Right? I've heard, a number of people say, well, I get carried away in this world. There are too many things that are fun. Now, doesn't mean a person can't have fun. You have to know how to have fun. You have to know when to have fun. The Torah is forever. The Torah itself, I need to learn day in and day out. I have to master it. I have to change bad character traits. Because you know what? There'll be people out there, plenty of people disagree. But it really doesn't matter because we know we're telling the truth. Right? And that is, this world is nothing. And they're going to say, spiritual things, this, that, forget it, it's baloney. I live in this world. Yeah, what is this world? But how much you can eat? How many games you went to? They're like, come on. Some people say it's about family. Some people say, what's really important? My hobbies, my beliefs. Well, what are your beliefs? See, someone's going to say, well, you like to pray all day. Why can't you do something else? What should I do? First of all, I don't pray all day. That's a misnomer. But what should we do? What's really important? So everyone has to answer for themselves. We know what's really important. Torah is important. Mitzvah is important. Chesed, doing acts of loving kindness. Helping others. Family is also important, true? But it's my relationship between me and God. And how I interact with others. And how I realize I make mistakes. Do things we shouldn't do. So I got to work hard. Got to change. It's good for Elul. Good preparation for the month of Elul, which is 30 days before Rosh Hashanah. Got to be introspective. What am I living for? What is the world all about? What does God want from me? You know what He wants? He wants your blood. What does He want? He wants you to bow down to Him, to realize everything comes from Him. And when a person has difficulty, it comes from Him. Difficulty also comes from Him. We can do it to ourselves, but He's the one pulling the strings. And when it comes to livelihood and other things, we're not in control. 100% we're not in control. right? If we realize we're not in control, what are we upset about? We do the best we can. We put our best foot forward, and then God's the one who's going to take care of business. And he's the one in charge. And he's the one that rules the world. That's the mantra. So what's really important? Isn't there anything more important than that? No. Everything else is fantasy. And there are plenty of people out there. What do they want? Fantasy. Okay? Because life's too hard. Tragedy. Right? People suffering. Life's hard. I want to veg. I want to relax. I want to kick back and sip my pina colada. That's what I want to do. Well, guess what? I have to take stock of my life. I have to be better. Right? I have to work on my relationship between me and God. We have to work on our relationship between man and man. We have to be the best we can be. It's all about potential. So what am I doing here to be the best person I can be? Whether you're a Jew, you're a JIT, a Jew in training, you're a Noahide, whatever it is. It's about your relationship to God and how you interact with others. Right? That's the goal. That's the most important thing. These other things we get caught up. We get caught up in the physical world. We get caught up, in money and fame and all that. And it gets to our head. You're right. What does God say? Forget all that. You got to live in this world 100%. But you have to know what you're living for. You have to know what your obligation is. And we can't shirk our responsibility. Because if you shirk your responsibility, you're toast. You have the ability to help others, you didn't do it, you're toast. 100%. God made us into creatures that should want to give, that should want to help. The Jews are at the top of that list because there are three things that mark someone who's a Jew. Right? They're Baishanim, Rachmanim, and they do Gimilus Chasadim. They get Baishanim, they get embarrassed easily. Rachmanim, they have compassion for others. And they do a lot of chesed acts of loving kindness. They give of themselves. Right? That's, Turnus Rufus, I think, asked Rabbi Akiva, if your God is so great and he can do anything in the world, why are there poor people? So what did Rabbi Akiva answer? In order to give rich people a merit, or in order to give people with money, they don't have to be rich, in order to give people with money the merit in the next world, because they help someone else who is poor. That's crucial. Right? So people are poor for any number of reasons. God makes it hard for them. Work on their faith, could be any number of reasons. They could do it to themselves, whatever it is. But if a person can help someone else and they're able to do it, there's nothing better than that. Nothing greater than that. They're helping someone in need. The person in need gets helped. The person who gives gets helped. You know why they get help? Because that gives them a portion of the world to come. But if a person looks the other way and they shirk their responsibility, I'm not even going to say what happens to them. God forbid what happens to them. If you can't, you can't. Right? But if God knows you could and you don't, God should have mercy on these people. Should have a lot of mercy on these people. Because that punishment is going to be absolutely severe. I want to remind everyone I give a class through the heart every Tuesday, 9 o'clock Eastern time. Sunday, a packed day. We'll go Leviticus chapter 16. Every Sunday, 9 o'clock Eastern time, 4 o'clock Israel time. No-Hide Nations, No-Hide class, 2:30 on Sunday, Eastern time, 9:30 Israel time. I have 2 Q&As, Tuesday, Thursday, 10 o'clock Eastern time, 5 o'clock Israel time. There's Tanakh Talk, controversial issues, every Thursday, 8 o'clock Eastern time, and Pirkei Avos, Ethics of Our Fathers, every Saturday, 2 o'clock, back to 2 o'clock, 2 o'clock Eastern time, 9 o'clock Israel time. I also have conversion classes. Anyone interested in any of this, find me on Facebook at Michael Chaim Kaufman, or Beyond Orthodox Conversion Judaism. You can send me an email, rabbichaimkaufman@gmail.com, RBBIChaimCoffman@gmail.com.